You are Locked On Spurs, your daily San Antonio Spurs podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Emily Swallow, and you are listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
Welcome back to Locked On Spurs right here on the Locked On NBA Network. I'm your host, Jeff Garcia, Spurs writer for KENS 5 San Antonio. Hope everybody have themselves a great weekend, and we're getting ready to start the workday. We'll be here with you right here on Locked On Spurs. Be sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, KENS 5 Plus app. The list goes on and on. iTunes, Stitcher, the list just keeps on, including Sirius XM NBA Radio. So yeah, find Locked On Spurs anywhere you find your favorite podcast. You guys are the everydayers. What are we talking about today? We're going to recap the Spurs loss in overtime to Toronto. We're also going to have a couple of takes, whether or not it's too premature to think Wemby and All-Star squad, Jack Thompson and Mike Jimenez will be on later on in this episode. So what are we talking about right now? We're going to recap that game. Spurs lost a heartbreaker in overtime, 123 to 116. The Spurs had themselves a 22-plus point lead over Toronto. 22-point lead over Toronto. That was just exciting. You thought the Spurs were going to get their third straight win. That did not happen whatsoever. So what went wrong? What are some good things? What are three takeaways that I had from the game versus Toronto? Here we go. Number one, the loss of Devin Vassell. Devin Vassell did not play versus the Raptors, and you could tell that Devin was missing in action. The Spurs needed him. No defense, no offense. The offense sputtered in the second half. The defense floundered in the second half. That's where Devin could come in. Credit Keldon Johnson, 26 points to lead the team on the night. Good compliment to Wemby with 20 points. It just wasn't enough. The Spurs severely missed his presence out on the court versus Toronto. Malachi Branham stepped in and did an admirable job. He finished with 16 points on the night. It just was not good enough. You missing that veteran leadership, a guy who wanted to take the mantle and is taking the mantle of the veteran leader, and it showed. It definitely showed that defense was sputtering, that offense when they needed it to get going. That's 20 points you missed out right there from Devin Vassell. That's showing you the value of Devin. Sure, it's Wemby's team, but if there's a Robin to Wemby's Batman, it's definitely Devin Vassell, and it was severely missed. So hopefully he'll be back for tonight's game versus Indiana. But that's my first biggest takeaway, lack of Devin Vassell, and it showed on the court. Takeaway number two, give Wemby the ball. Simple as that. He was cooking to start the game. He had double-figure scoring to open up the first frame. He was blocking shots. He finished with 5 blocks on the night. He finished with 20 points on the night. He was doing it all. But late in the game, especially in the overtime, he just didn't get his touches. I think he got his touch one time in overtime. That was it. The Spurs need to learn to give him the ball. He demands it at this point now. He can will this team to a victory. He's one of the better clutch players in the NBA. When it was nip and tuck with Toronto, that's where they should have given him the ball, and they just did not give him the ball. Now, credit Toronto. They really keyed on him, got him out of the sweet spots, but you still have to give it to him. Even if he's aggressive to the paint, he's going to get fouls. Something positive will happen. The Spurs just did not go to him. He scored a few points in that overtime frame. That was it. You give the big man the ball. Nobody can stop him. Run the pick and roll with him. Throw it lower, throw it in the paint, lob it up high. He'll catch it. He'll do it. At least the worst case scenario, they send him to the free throw line. That did not happen at all. The Spurs team have to learn, and they're coming around, but they still have to learn to give Wemby the ball. They have to get it. Now, Wemby said that at the post game, that they'll just look at the film, saying all the right canned answers. They'll look it over. He just said that Toronto would just give them different options, but that's just part of his learning curve as well as the Spurs learning curve of him adjusting to the NBA and them adjusting to him and what he can do. This team is still cooking. This team is still young. Popovich, Collins, even Wemby, they all agree that Toronto's experience showed in the second half. Toronto erased that double-figure scoring, took control of the game late in the fourth, and then won in overtime. Toronto has that experience. Spurs do not. This is just another learning lesson for this young team. They learned a heck of a lesson out in Phoenix, how to never give up on a game, fight to the bitter end, you might win. And that happened not the first game in Phoenix, and then the Spurs pretty much cruised to victory in that second game out in Phoenix. And even in the second game in Phoenix, when Phoenix tied it up, they still learned how to not put their foot off the gas pedal. They won. You saw here today was this team taking their foot off the gas pedal, giving up on defense, letting Toronto just get hot from the three-point line. Zach Collins said, hey, what can you do? They just weren't missing. Well, try to tee them up better. Try to, not put yourself in that situation. This Spurs team learned a valuable lesson today is how to manage, how to maintain leads. They blew it, but I think this experience will go a long way for them. Look, it's just 6 games in the season. They're 3-3 now. I think they'll be fine. That's just one of those things. Look, everybody expected this team to learn. What did we all say heading into the new season? Let this team learn. Let this team cook. They're not going to make some finals run. They're not going to make some deep playoff run. That they still have to learn and adjust to each other. So chalk that up to that. It's just part of their learning curve right now. And yeah, so from the missing Devin Vassell and it's showing to not giving the Wemby the ball more often than not, especially in the overtime period, and just learning how to maintain those double-figure leads and stemming off the tide from opposing teams that want to close that gap. The Spurs learned a lot. Those are 3 takeaways that I had from tonight or yesterday's game versus Toronto. Here's some final numbers. The Spurs had 5 players in double figures. 12 points from Doug McDermott off that bench, 26 points from Keldon Johnson, 11 for 16 shooting, 11 for 18, 20 points from Victor Wembanyama, 9 rebounds as well, 21 points from Zach Collins, and 16 points from Malachi, who started in place of Devin Vassell. Jeremy Sohan, he finished with 4 points. He had 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals. Not bad for a guy who's just learning how to play the point guard spot and is still wet behind the ears as far as that. All in all, a heartbreaking loss, but I think a very valuable lesson for this young Spurs team. Coming up next, we have Jack Thompson from San Antonio Spurs. He's going to talk with me about whether or not it's too premature to start thinking Wemby and All-Star. Yeah, we'll see what he thinks, as well as Mike Jimenez, who we got a chance to catch up with him here at the Frost Bank Center. He'll give his thoughts on that topic as well. Coming up next right here on Locked On Spurs. Hey, I want to talk to you about GameTime.co. Go to GameTime.co right now. You don't have to worry about things when you're buying tickets to your next big event, right? That should not be a part of the issue. GameTime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. They got killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, view from receipts, best price guaranteed. GameTime takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. So that lowest price guarantee, you even get event cancellation protection, job loss protection, the works. Go to GameTime.co right now. You can see the view from receipts before you buy. You know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Buy tickets in seconds in just 2 taps. That's it. Super easy to use. GameTime has deals on tickets right up to the start of the event. It's even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find last-minute seats. They got zone deals. Basically, you pick the section. GameTime picks the seats for an average saving of 18%. And the GameTime guarantee always means you'll always get the best price. If you find tickets in the same section or row for less, GameTime will credit you up to 110% of the difference. Download the GameTime app right now. Create an account. Use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Hey, this is Chris Sabat, and you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
And as promised, we are back right here on Locked On Spurs with Jack Thompson, formerly with San Antonio Sports Star. He's going to be talking to us on his thoughts on whether or not it's way too soon to start thinking Wemby and All-Star squad. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Spurs your first listen. You guys are the everydayers. Tomorrow, probably going to be talking more Wemby. I could just put that on repeat for the whole entire season. That's what we're going to be doing every single day right here on Locked On Spurs. Like we go over what happened versus the Pacers and so much more. But, Jack, before you start, I want to give you a little heads up. Mike Jimenez, your former colleague at the Star, he came on, and he'll be on next. He already saying that no way, it's not too premature to start thinking Wemby All-Star spot. I'll give you my 2 cents in just a few seconds, but I want to give you the first shot. You are the guest. Wemby All-Star squad, way too soon, right?
I don't think it's too soon, honestly. I mean, maybe as far as the play goes, numbers-wise, he's close right now, averaging around 20 a game. Rebounds could be a little better. Obviously, the defense is insane.
Yeah.
But I think, solely he's going to make it if it's not just because of the numbers and he has, more, 40-point outbursts like he had the other night. He's going to get voted in. Who's not going to want to see him in the All-Star game. I mean, the
Yeah.
NBA definitely wants that for the global coverage. And, all the fans, who wouldn't want to see him on the court with all the rest of the best players in the NBA? So I think for that, that point alone, he's definitely going to make it.
I must be in the minority because, we'll definitely hear from Jimenez coming up next. But I told him, and I'll tell you, I think it's still too soon. I think it's still, kind of pump the brakes a bit. We saw how he started the season. Okay, fine. He got foul trouble versus Dallas. But after that game, up until that second game against Phoenix, where he had that monster, number day night, it was 3 quarters quiet, fourth quarter explode. 3 quarters quiet, fourth quarter explode. That was kind of his rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
I need to see more consistency out of him to start really thinking Wemby and All-Star squad. Look, he's going to be there for All-Star weekend no matter what. He's going to be part of the Rising Stars Challenge. There's no doubt about that. He'll be there repping the Spurs. But to make the All-Star squad, that's a big leap. I get TV viewership and interest and all that stuff. But do you really think he can get a spot over some of the players in the West? Because they're going back to the traditional format this year. That's a pot. I mean, he'll have to leap over Joker. Joker's probably going to be a starter, at this rate. But guys like Joker, who are there? Kevin Durant, other players, that are, more established than him. Is it a big leap? I mean, are we reaching to say that he'll be on there?
Like I said, numbers wise, maybe not. It's, he probably won't make it off of just the sheer numbers unless, he continues to get more comfortable, which I expect him to, and, continues to have these huge outburst games where he goes for 30 or more. But I do agree with you that we need to see a lot more consistency when it comes to, 4 quarters of play.
Mm-hmm.
In the fourth quarter, he's been, one of the best in the league so far. But yeah, we really need to see in quarters, 1 through 3, him establishing that same type of dominance.
Right.
But I think just still if the NBA was smart at all, they would, you get him in there. It's going to blow up the viewership even more for a game that has been, dying. A lot of people don't care about the All-Star game anymore, but suddenly you throw Wemby in there to play with all the best players in the world. I think you get a few more eyes and a lot more interest for sure.
Speaking of eyes, the NBA last week released the European numbers and how much Wemby effect is hitting overseas, especially in France. NBA League Pass Europe, the numbers are through the roof. Just games that they tune into, video clips they watch of the NBA about Wemby and TikTok, all that stuff, blowing through the roof. Yeah, if the NBA wants to have those numbers, they're going to throw him in there. Then, of course, you start thinking of like, well, do you really want to put him out there? Guys his size, prone to injury. What if he gets hurt in a game like that? There's that train of thought. I want to ask you, though, do you think maybe the more reasonable path for him to make it would be kind of an injury replacement, or let's just say, and I'm making this up, like old veteran guys, like, give my spot to a kid and just let Wemby take over. Kind of like what we saw with Draymond, with DeJounte, kind of like that. Do you think that's more realistic, or you think a legit fan vote, coaches vote, player vote, starting spot for Wemby?
I really see the fan vote coming through for Wemby. I'm not going to lie, because, the past 10 years, I guess, anyone who's been, a budding all-star here in San Antonio just falls short because the fan vote is just not very strong here in San Antonio. It hasn't been for a while. But with Wemby, it's not going to be fan vote just out of San Antonio. Like, people all over the world are going to be voting for this guy to be in the All-Star game. And I think that really makes the difference. And I think he gets in solely off of fan vote for sure.
Yeah. It reminds me of, remember the Yao Ming time? I remember Joshua Pachulia. I remember that fiasco when his whole country were trying to vote him in. Yeah, he has the French vote. He definitely has the Spurs vote. And Spurs votes are not just located in San Antonio. They are throughout the nation. I mean, Spurs fans are strong in every 4 corners of this country. So you mix all that together, yeah, there's a legit shot he could get in as a starter. That would be insane. I mean, look,
Yeah,
he already
that'd be
broke
crazy.
records already, for the Spurs franchise with that game against Phoenix. He's up there now as far as points scored, 38 in a night with Robinson and Duncan. That's some good company right there.
Yeah.
But as far as Wemby and All-Star, let's take a look back at what happened yesterday versus Toronto. Again, we saw that typical thing, a little bit here, a little spurt, a little bit there, a little spurt, and then he finished the night with a great game, 20 points, 7 blocks, hit threes. But in the overtime period, the Spurs did not go to him. I mean, rarely. I think they went to him once or twice. That was it. I think that can't continue. Especially if it's all about numbers and popularity, which he has, and putting up those highlight reels, the Spurs got to give him the touches, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we saw what happened in Phoenix when the offense flowed through Wemby. It was amazing to watch the pace that they play with, the lobs, on the backside seal just over the top, and he just reaches up and tips it in. I think it's the more and more he gets comfortable, the offense will continue to flow more and more through him. And obviously, we saw that can lead to very good things for these Spurs. And that was without Devin too. Devin was looking at a 30-point night against Phoenix himself. So I fully expect more and more touches to be coming Wemby's way. It's just about our guys figuring out how to do it. We're playing with a team where, Keldon and Devin, for their time here, it's whenever they've had the ball, why would I give it up? I'm the best player on this team. My shot is better than my worst shot is better than your best shot. So this kind of guys trying to, feel it out, get used to having to defer a little bit. And we've seen Keldon's assist numbers have been really nice this season. He's been really flirting with double-digit assists in most games. So I think more and more our guys will get used to deferring to Wemby, letting the offense flow through him, and them being able to pick and choose their spots when they're more aggressive as well. But I fully expect Wemby to jump into that all-star category.
Yeah. I'm not saying that he won't be considered. It's just for me to pencil him in as a starter. I mean, maybe I should just stop thinking that gets a reach just based on his play of late. I mean, sure, there were no highlight reel moments, versus Toronto, but he still put the numbers in. He's mentioned, the numbers usually that fans look at and coaches look at, even if Wemby doesn't make the starting lineup and he's a coach's pick, on the reserve bench. That's fine. Rare W for Jimenez, though. Are you agreeing with Mike Jimenez?
Every squirrel finds their nut. A broken clock is right, twice a day. It's bound to happen every now and then.
I feel like Spurs fans come at me for not saying, "Oh, he's for sure a starter," because I'm still on the let's wait and see. I'm like, let's wait and see before we get there. It's months away. It's months away. Everybody.
I'm with you there when it comes to the numbers, but I just see the sheer interest of seeing Wemby in the game just is going to explode.
Yeah. Exactly. He is Jack Thompson. Make sure to follow him on X at Jack_Thompson33. You want to do it right now. He's formerly with San Antonio Sports Star, but I'm pretty sure you're still keeping up with all things sports. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it didn't start with being with the Star, and it did not end with being with the Star. So sports will forever be what I'm all about.
Make sure to follow him on X. You see it on your screen. Just take out that last underscore. It's Jack_Thompson33. So just a heads up, a little typo there. Coming up next, we got Mike Jimenez. He's going to give his take on, you see the Jack's pretty laughing, his take on Wemby and the All-Star squad. I'm going to talk to him as well. I have a few different takes as well with Mike Jimenez. That's actually shot live at the Frost Bank Center. Can't believe Jimenez and Jack Thompson agreed. Wow. I didn't never, play lottery, everybody, maybe it's their lucky day. So that's coming up next right here on Locked On Spurs. I want to talk about FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet only at FanDuel. So score early this NFL season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Let me repeat that again. That's $150 if your team wins. That's right. You new customers, $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 money line bet. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, now's the time. You got to get on the action right now. NBA season's underway. NFL season's underway. It's a perfect time to get in on the action only at FanDuel. The app is easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options from spreads, over and unders, so much more. You want to visit FanDuel/LockedOn and kick off the NFL season. I go there. I have it. Download it right now. Put it on your favorite smart device. Go get the FanDuel app right now. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Also want to talk to you about Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee, located at 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive. That's out in San Antonio. Look, over 300 five-star reviews cannot be wrong. They have a wide variety of drinks. They are a proud local sponsor of Locked On Spurs. They proud help sponsor and place you want to go to in San Antonio. They love servicing the San Antonio community. So those drinks, yeah, they got the Mudslinger, which is their signature drink. That'll introduce you into the coffee world. Dairy alternatives. They have the OG OJ, which is the Orange Julius recreated only at Mudslingers. They have the Alien. I wonder who that's about. It's about Victor. Full can of Red Bull, green apple, kiwi mixed together, delicious. They have the Sub-Zero drink, which is in honor of UTSA's Frank Harris. And they got so many other specialty drinks that'll make your head spin. So if you like to get your day started off right or just keep you powered through the day, try their Red Bull infused Lightning Bolt series. Power in a drink right there. So go to Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee, open every day, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., 2404 Thousand Oaks Drive out in San Antonio, 281-1604 area. And they're very interactive with fans. You can find them on Facebook, X, Threads, TikTok, Instagram, at Mudslinger, SATX, all one word. Go to Mudslingers Drive-Thru Coffee right now. Friendly staff, great menu, mini donuts. They got it all. And why should you go to Mudslingers? Because life is too short for bland coffee.
This is Zach Aguilar, the voice of Tanjiro Kamado, and you're listening to Locked On Spurs with Jeff Garcia.
All right, and we're back. You just heard from Jack Thompson on his thoughts whether or not Wembanyama deserves, or is it too premature to start thinking all-star for Mr. Wemby? We're now joined from the Frostbank Center himself, Mike Jimenez, wearing the appropriate jersey for today's topic.
That's right, baby.
Right here. Make sure to follow him on X at MJ Acquired Takes. We're going to get his take whether or not Wemby discussions, all-star, is it way too premature? So we just heard from Jack. I'll tell you what I think in a bit, but I just 6 games in, don't you think it's a little too premature to start thinking all-star for Wemby?
Not at all. It's going to happen. Most definitely going to happen. If he's healthy enough to play, it is going to happen. One of two ways. Either he gets voted in or the NBA just wants it to happen. I am now under the belief that Victor Wembanyama might actually outvote LeBron James this year because of the popularity that's there. I'm not saying that he's favored to or he's gonna, but I think it's gonna be close. And if he doesn't get voted in, you know the NBA is gonna want him because of the international appeal, because of TikTok, because of Twitter, because of all those social media.
Exactly.
People want to see Victor Wembanyama. If he puts up the stats, he's gonna get in.
For me, it's just consistency. It's been so far to start up until that the second Phoenix game. It's been 3 quarters quiet, explosion, 3 quarters quiet, explosion. And then obviously the Phoenix game, he went off.
Right.
I need to see more consistency for me to start thinking, yeah, we're on that path. I don't know if we're on that path yet. But what a way to start that path in his game versus Phoenix. Do you think that it may come down to a situation where he may get in like an injury replacement? I can see that a la DeJounte Murray.
It's a possibility, but you got to think that the commissioner would apply pressure to get him in, because if it's a borderline debate between him and a Brandon Ingram, him and an Austin Reeves, it's like, no, we want Wemby. We want those eyes from Europe. We want those eyes from Asia, because I mean, this is a guy that the commissioner was talking about on Good Morning America after his 38-10 performance.
And that's telling you right now how much they want him to be the face of the NBA.
And now a lot of the doubters that are out there, I mean, the people who are like, oh, well, we saw this with Bol Bol, or we saw this with Sean Bradley, or whatever. All those people saying that he's going to be a bust have come out. Most of them come around and go, wait a minute, this guy might be legit. So there's a polarizing factor that's there. People who want to see him succeed, people who are enamored by him and others who want to see him fail.
Yeah. We saw recently NBA release international viewership numbers. NBA League Pass Europe, millions of viewers because of him. The Wemby effect is true.
Yeah.
I think they'll figure a way to shoehorn him in. But you brought up a good question before we hit record right here for your segment. Does he deserve to get in or will he get in? How do you see the difference?
It's about consistency, as you said. I know that you're saying that he's kind of disappearing in the first, second, and third quarter, but man, he shows up in the fourth when it counts.
Yeah.
He's one of the tops when it comes to clutch points. And that's a big deal, because the winners play. And what we're seeing from him is the desire to want to have the ball down the stretch. He's demanding the ball. He wants the ball. He wants to take the big shots. And that is what an all-star does. That's what an all-star is. It's what a superstar is. And I'm glad to see that he's on our side doing that. But to deserve it, be north of 20 points per game. Okay, yeah. 20 points per game, 7-8 rebounds. It'll get you in.
Yeah. We know he will be an all-star because of the NBA Rising Stars events. So he'll get in just like Sohan got in a few years ago.
Yeah.
So we know a lot for that. But can you imagine if somehow he does get into the West squad? I don't know if he'll be a starter. I think he'll probably be a reserve.
I'm calling it. He's a starter.
He's a starter.
He's a starter. And how are you a starter? By the votes, right? Isn't that the most?
Yep.
That's like the biggest criteria of it all is the votes. And right now, you're seeing like the Spurs play the Knicks later on this week, right? The highest ticketed price for the Knicks, I looked it up on StubHub the other day. The highest ticketed game this month is against the Spurs.
Wow.
So much for the Spurs being a boring team, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're not a boring team. We've got the superstar. People want to see him. And I think he's going to be a starter.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm not saying that I don't want him to be an all-star. I just think I need still a bit more time for him to cook still. We're months from
I get it.
Months away from that. But you're starting to hear it already from all sports platforms, like All-Star. Oh, my God, do we have something here? I'm not trying to knee-jerk after that game versus Phoenix. It was a phenomenal outing. I just want to see it more. And I do agree. I think he'll get in either via the injury replacement or a reserve. Right. Or maybe just an old NBA player is like, you know what? I just want to take a break, kind of like what Draymond did. So take my spot, go there. But I think he'll be blockbuster. And just imagine that viewership, the international viewership, if he does make the All-Star game, and the amount of passes, media passes that the international is going to want to cover that All-Star game with him.
Wemby's only going to get better.
Yeah.
So if he's a guy right now that's averaging north of 20 points per game, he should be doing that months 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying, well, what if teams start to figure him out? How do you figure out 7-4?
Yeah, you can't. You can't. You can't at all. So you're calling it right now. He's in.
He's not only in, he's a starter.
Sorry. I'm going to go with reserve. He gets in as a reserve. He is Mike Jimenez. Make sure to follow him on X at MJ Acquired Taste. And probably tomorrow's show, not probably for sure. It's going to be Wemby. All Wemby. Yeah. Just like this. Wembanyama right here. What's going on with you? What's going on?
Alamo City Podcast. We're doing it Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. It's live at 10:30 a.m. Sports, pop culture, nostalgia. A lot of fun times. We go an hour 15 straight with no commercials. It's a great time. We're all available on all the major platforms. We're going to have an expansion of the podcast, if you will.
Oh, whoa.
An expansion of the team that will be announced pretty soon. But we're excited about it. And the response the past week since I've come back has been really big.
The Jimenez effect. It's the Jimenez effect. Again, make sure to follow him on X at MJ Acquired Taste. Make sure to subscribe to Locked On Spurs wherever you get your favorite podcast. You have something to say?
Yeah, and Sohan reaches into my my Twitter threads. Sohan got a little bit upset at one of the comments that was going on.
The Jimenez effect.
He's taking it. You know what? As I mentioned on Friday's show, if I have to be the bulletin board material for Sohan to be better,
you do it.
You're welcome, Spurs fans. You're welcome.
For the team. Once again, make sure to follow Locked On Spurs wherever you get your favorite podcast. Google Play, Stitcher, iTunes, Kent's 5+ app, Sirius XM NBA Radio. Yes, Locked On Spurs is there. The rest of the Locked On NBA shows. And again, we'll be back tomorrow marketing more about Wemby. Number one, probably, no surprise. Wemby all the time. So for Mike Jimenez, I am Jeff Garcia, as well as Jeff for Jack Thompson. We're going to put a lock on this episode of Locked On Spurs.